She's the storytelling queen behind the scenes, but tonight she's in the spotlight. It's Event About It with Sarah Soliman. Hey everybody, welcome back to Event About It. I'm your host, Megan Martin, and we have a very special guest and an even better setup for our episode today. Our guest this week is best known for documenting the events you were at and the ones you wish you were going to. She's got a camera in one hand, advocacy in the other, and awards stacked higher than a ballroom stage. Welcome to the studio, Sarah. Or should I say, thank you for having me in your studio today.
I'm so excited that you're here with us.
I couldn't be more excited. I mean, now I need this in my house. I need to record in a studio like this from now on.
Yeah, we're giving you all the ideas. So.
I love it. Well, that's what Event About It is all about. And for our listeners, let's tell them a little bit how we even got here today. Because I think our story to this moment is just the power of this industry. So walk people through how we ended up in person together today.
Yeah, so we are in a very big but small industry. So Megan and I have always run in similar circles, but have never actually met in person or even virtually, which is so crazy to me.
It is crazy.
So our mutual friend, Rachel Kopchak, who we love and adore. Yeah, so she reached out to me and said, hey, I've got a friend, Megan, who she actually, produces Megan's podcast for, and they collaborate in various ways. She's looking for a panelist for an upcoming show that happens to be local in Orlando. And I said, okay, that sounds fun. Sure, sign me up. I'm happy to connect with her. So Megan and I jumped on a call, and, here we are today. But in addition to that, I learned that she is also friends with, and you met Rachel through another mutual friend of ours, Mary Hyam, who I also very much love. I just had lunch with her probably, like a month ago or so. But yeah, so very small industry for being as large as it is.
I know. And I think if we did the degrees of separation, I think there's even more connections besides just Mary and Rachel that got us here.
Absolutely. For sure. Yeah, we'll
amazing.
have to dig deep sometime over
sure.
wine or something.
I mean,
yeah.
I can't think of anything better. So tell us a little bit about yourself before we get into our first game.
Okay, a little bit about myself. So I'm Sarah Soliman. I'm the president and CEO of Soliman Productions. This is our 10th year in business.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. Sometimes I'm like, what? Like when people ask how long, we've been in business for, I still feel the urge to say, we're like 2 years in or whatever. But we are 10 years in, hence the gray hair on my head now at this point. And all the Botox touch-ups that I need to get.
I mean, all event people have it, myself included.
Oh my gosh, yes. So it's been an awesome 10 years of us, just really not just focusing on the meetings and events industry, but we've also extended our reach outside of events as well, which has been really cool. The studio that we're sitting in now, our facility has various studios, and we've had the space for 2.5 years now. So that's really given us a way to sort of expand outside of, the events world.
What kind of stuff are you guys doing outside of the events world?
We are doing a lot of digital content marketing for businesses and what I call walk-up business. So, people that we've never worked with before because we were so event-centric, and now we're, expanding our wings, if you will. So working with content creators, people who have YouTube channels that, really are expanding their digital footprint. And we are a place that they call home to come in and do this, right? Recording podcasts, content for their YouTube channel, for their business, so on and so forth. So it's stuff that we haven't done previously.
What do you think is something an event person could learn about from these digital creators? Like, how could someone apply the content creator, the YouTube channel? I mean, there's like 12-year-olds that are making millions of dollars on YouTube. Like, what do you think event people could learn from that?
Consistency. I think that is the biggest thing with events is a lot of event organizers in particular, and it could be a number of things, budget and, everything in between, but the consistency piece, I mean, we see the same faces in here over and over and over again, and they make it a point to come in and record their content, and they are very much consistent. And I think when we talk about content and events, we tend to really focus on content as we get closer to an event versus like that year-round strategy. So, even when we look at YouTube channels for different organizations, especially on the association side, you see that it's very heavily influxed, as we get closer to an event, or social media, same thing. Yeah. Like as you get closer to an event,
there's these huge peaks and valleys of engagement.
Totally. Yes. So I think that is the biggest factor that I would say, event organizers can learn from some of these really successful content creators.
Yeah. When they come into your studio, are they recording a month's worth, a day's worth? Like how much are they generating from like one,
content day.
A content day. Well, how much are they recording?
It all depends. Some of our, I guess, more seasoned content creators come in and they'll change into a few different outfits and they'll spend 2-3 hours here and record content that's good for a month, and then we've got other folks that are, their schedules are a little bit busier, so they may come in and record for a week's time and then come back in the following week to record more. So it just really varies, but we always obviously encourage people, listen, time is of the essence, and obviously the more that you can make of your time while you're here, we'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, so many good nuggets. Okay, we're going to get into more of that in the after show. But for our first segment here, we're going to play a game called Director's Cut. You get final cut. We're going to pitch out some classic event industry scenes that desperately need a rewrite. Your job is to call out what's going to go, what gets reshot, and put a spinning touch, an award-winning touch on it. All right, are you ready?
I'm a little nervous, but let's do this.
Okay, lights, camera, shade. It's time for Director's Cut. So the first one up is, I wrote all male panel, but really panels in general. Mm-hmm. And I also don't love all female panels. I know that's our session because it just kind of ended up that way.
How dare you, Megan? Yeah.
But like in general, I don't like all sex panels, and I definitely don't like panels in general. Mm-hmm. So what would you cut or change about the panel scenario at events?
I think I would get more people that differ truly in opinion. I find it very much a snooze fest when I attend a panel and everyone's like, yeah, I totally agree, Megan, or yeah, Sarah, I'm on board with you. Like, no, if you're going to have different perspectives up there, we want to hear what those different perspectives are. That's the point. Yeah. And I just think like not playing it safe and kind of making it so that the moderator in particular is the person that's like really igniting some of those difference in conversations is important.
Moderation is way harder than I think people give credit for, because you do have to pull out those nuggets from your panelists.
Yeah, you're guiding a conversation. And then, of course, you've got some folks that are quieter than others on panels. Also from like just an AV standpoint, and I'm sure all of our AV friends can appreciate this about panels, but microphone levels, OMG, that's really annoying. So you've got like the person like me who's loud, and I'm always going to project because I know I have to.
Sure.
But then the person next to me may be super quiet, and we have the same microphone on, but we just don't know how to project our voices. If you're holding a handheld mic and you're going like this, obviously no one's going to hear you. Yeah. But everyone yells at the poor, AV tech sitting in the back of the room. That's like, I can't control how someone speaks into a microphone. So that's more of like my tech side of annoyances with panels that I would love to educate more on or change.
Yeah, I love that. All right, next up, a keynote speaker who bombs and then says, can we just fix it in post?
That's never happened before. I don't know what you're talking about. I have no actual real life experience with this. No, so our keynote friends that bomb at certain times and places, I guess it depends on what we're doing in post is always what I say. So if we are creating some kind of a highlight reel, sure, we don't have to include the portions that you totally bombed during your live presentation. But if it's something that we are recording from start to finish, what my team tries to do as magicians in editing is to remove that segment but still have the content make sense. So we're not missing a huge portion of content that's like important to the full story and the full conversation that they were trying to relay on stage. So it can be done. That's always my answer. My team may not always like that answer, but we always find a way to make it happen.
Have you ever added a laugh track to a post because no one in the room actually laughed at the joke?
I think we actually have. Yeah, I think we actually have. Maybe not a keynote per se, but I think we have added some laugh tracks Yes, and that's even more awkward than no. Like, I'd rather keep the awkward silence that actually happened in the room than adding a laugh track, but sometimes it is what it is and you just have to. We've also had to add some applause, right? Because when a speaker kind of pauses and they're like expecting that like roaring applause and it just doesn't happen and you're like, okay.
It's like the slow clap that never happened.
Exactly. Yeah. So we've had to add those kinds of sound effects in too.
Get it. Love it. The client requests a same-day highlight reel at 4 p.m.
That's like our everyday life. That's fine. Yeah, we've done it. We've been there, done that. Our team has done some pretty crazy stuff. And I mean, we typically sometimes will edit like up to 7 videos a day.
Oh my goodness.
On site. So
that's a lot of content to capture.
It's a lot of content. And oftentimes it is an edit that we're starting at like 4 or 5 p.m. So,
I mean, you have to wait for the day to be over. There's still so much good stuff that happens.
There's still so much to do. Exactly. Yeah.
All right. This one is like I could vent about this one all day, but award ceremonies. How do we make them more exciting? Give us the director's cut for an award ceremony that people actually want to go to.
Well, for one, I totally appreciate that award recipients want their time on stage and they want their voices heard. But I think to give every single one of your award recipients a moment at the podium is just not a good thing. I think it just trails on way too long. I obviously love the use of video and, you know, some kind of other content that breaks up what's happening on stage. I think having a really good MC or host to kind of guide the whole thing and not just your executive standing at the gooseneck mic at the podium and just making announcements and reading off of a script.
And every board member gets to like present a thing because they're a board member.
Yeah. And like the grip and grins and stuff. Everyone loves a good photo, but you know, I think there's ways to make all of that happen without making it so that it's during your award ceremony time and to make it more interesting for your attendees. So, you know, making it so that you're doing some fun photo shoots or something. So it's still a moment for the award recipient, but not happening on stage and like just taking up so much time and all of that.
I couldn't agree more. If there was a show flow for an award ceremony that you were like, this is the best one, I'm definitely going to that, what would it look like? What would you direct it?
Okay, so I'm going to come up with an award show flow in like 2.5 minutes.
Like,
right
what
now?
are the key moments? Like, right, so we always talk about like they have to have these surprise and delight moments, and we have to have a good MC. So, what are like 1 or 2 nuggets that you would sprinkle into this award show so it doesn't drone on for 3 hours with a rotating group of speakers? Like, what's a surprise and delight moment?
Well, I think for me personally, like I want you to tap into like almost all of my emotion, right? So like I want to feel happy, obviously. I want to shed a tear if I can. You know, I want like to feel every emotion if I'm at a good award show. Incorporating music, I'm a huge fan of that. And I think those are those delight moments that we often don't do in our more traditional corporate type of award ceremonies. So I would say between, if you just walk away with 2 takeaways, I would say a really good MC that can add a little bit of humor, you know, can joke, can make fun of themselves, maybe some folks in the audience, kind of like what you would see, you know, at the Oscars or whatever, but then also incorporate music, like real, true, you know, artists, musicians that can help create that experience of an award show. That to me would make it worth my while in our corporate world to sit through a full award show.
Yeah, agreed. And I think there's a lot of ways in today's world of hybrid. I mean, Hollywood has figured out how to do hybrid award shows and make them not boring. And I'm not sure why we don't steal more ideas from that, because they should be hybrid. I mean, we need to celebrate them.
I agree.
Okay, last one. Filming stand-up comedy on a giant tractor.
Okay. So, I have filmed on a giant tractor. It was not stand-up comedy, although it probably should have been, between Rachel, our friend, and I, who we spoke about earlier, her and I had to do a stand-up for a client. And when we say stand-up, it's more so like on camera, but on a huge tractor at a big manufacturing show. And in dresses and heels.
Oh, Lord.
Yes, important factor. We were not in inappropriate clothing for any of that to happen, but we made it happen and it was fun.
Would you do it again?
Totally.
Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure. Yeah.
And why do you think that worked for that shot?
Well, I think the industry that we're in, right? Like we're reporting on manufacturing in this case, and there was huge machinery and equipment all over the place. I think we were in Las Vegas, if memory serves me correctly, and they had setups, outside of the convention center, inside of the convention center, like all over the place. So I feel like as storytellers, and as content people, we have to really play into the target audience that we're speaking to, essentially. And just like we were talking about making award shows more exciting, sometimes our content can be a little dry, right? Like you're at a conference with people sitting in a breakout room and just taking notes, or general session and they're just watching a speaker. Like, how do you make it your responsibility to add in a little bit more of that flair and excitement? So I think for that particular show,
they're there to see the tractor, so show the tractor.
Yeah, and like
Makes
two
sense.
young girls in dresses on a tractor. I mean, that sounds pretty cool.
I mean, seems right up the alley for that audience.
Exactly.
Awesome. Okay, well, now it's time for my favorite part of the show, the vent of the week. No sugarcoating. Let it all out. Tell us, what is bugging you about the events world? What soapbox are you on these days?
I get very irritated with attending a lot of our industry shows in particular, where we preach about thinking different, thinking outside of the box, doing things differently, creating experiences. And then like you attend events and it's very much same old. And you're like,
Yes.
Well, wait a second. I don't know what we're teaching. Like what are we expecting other people to do if we're not doing it ourselves and being that example? I think that's been going on for a number of years, and it's become, I don't know, it doesn't make me excited to go to industry events anymore, because I'm like, okay, what's new? What's actually different?
Yeah.
I think people talking about AI at shows that are not AI experts is really annoying. Like, I'm not an AI expert. I'm never going to pretend to be one. So we're all learning AI, and I don't know that anyone in our industry is a true AI expert yet. Things like that. I think it's just like, what are we educating each other on? And is there an actual takeaway when you leave these events? And I feel like, we all love events so much, and we all take the time to travel to wherever we're going and get together and, host these things for a reason. And I just don't want us to lose sight of like that value add because we're trying to fill in an agenda with someone that's popular in the industry right now and claims they're a whatever expert. Like, I'm kind of over that stuff.
I mean, for the first time in my career, am not going to shows that I've been going to for a decade for the same reasons. Like, I'm not going to spend the money, spend the time away from home to go sit through the same sessions that we've been talking about and having for the last decade. Like,
totally.
Everything is so rinse and repeat. But to your point, we're talking about how it's so innovative and we have to do, and everything is different, but we ourselves are not doing a lot different. And the other thing that bugs me in the same vein is we don't look outside of our industry very often for inspiration. Like, if we look at some of these consumer shows, they're doing some really cool things that the business events world should be adopting, but we talk in such a vacuum to each other, and just everyone's like, no, you're so great, everybody's doing so great, when no one's doing great. Yeah. And it just drives me crazy. And then we go to events and we have these same talking heads over and over again. But if you try to say anything too controversial, they're just like, oh, no, then you can't come back.
Right, exactly. And I'm like, I welcome the controversy. It's like, I think it's healthy. I think it's good. I think everyone needs a little bit of a shakeup. Like I said earlier, I want someone to disagree with me if we're on a panel together. Yeah. I want to have an educated dialogue, and we still leave friends and everyone's okay. It's just, I don't know. I just feel like we need to really focus on creating more value. And especially as we look at, membership models where this next generation coming in, they're not going to spend the $500 to $600 a year to be part of your organization.
Not the next generation coming in. Me, I quit all my memberships. Like I was not getting any more value from them. I stopped paying them.
Right. And we are creating community online.
Correct.
Right? Like we can create community via LinkedIn, on Instagram, on TikTok, whatever, like literally anywhere else but in person, unfortunately. And although we understand, like you and I, we understand the value of like doing this and being one-on-one and in person. We get it. But if you're telling me that I could just fly to Montana and have coffee with you versus, spend $600 a year plus, my registration plus, I'll go have coffee with you. In Montana. You know what I mean? And like have a great time.
You don't have to spend the thousands of dollars to go meet at a conference anymore.
Yeah. And it's like, how do we bring that urge back? Like, how do you do a better job at stepping truly outside of your comfort zone and welcoming some of those controversial people, some of the people that don't have a true name in the industry just yet, but they should. Right. And you just have to give them the platform. Correct. So those are very much annoyances that I have been experiencing for probably around the same timeline as you last couple of years. So,
yeah, I couldn't agree more. All right. Last up, we're going to Event About It. You get to share a crazy, wild, behind the scenes story of something that's happened at an event. So tell us. Give us some tea. Tell us a crazy story about something that you've seen at your events.
I don't know how much tea this is, so I don't want you to rush and go grab your tea by any chance. But we were doing AV at a show last year, I think. It was in Nashville. And we're all set up, ready to go. Thank God it was like rehearsal day. It wasn't a show day. But we're all set up and ready to go. And, we're waiting for the speakers to start showing up to run through their slides and do a full tech check. Well, all of a sudden, my team and I are sitting at the tech table and we hear, boom, huge explosion. And we're like, and then the power goes out.
Oh, no.
And of course, like your brain goes to the worst thing. You're like, oh my gosh, is there like an active shooter? Like what is going on? Because you just heard a huge boom. So turns out everyone's like running outside, trying to figure out what's going on. Turns out the generator on the street where the hotel is completely blew. Out of nowhere, Megan. Like the weather was perfectly fine. There wasn't a storm.
No car, nobody ran into it.
Nothing ran into it. Like it was just
a freak explosion.
Yeah. And my team will tell you it's because I was in the room. Like I just attract chaos at all times. So it's my fault that the generator blew.
At least you're owning it.
I'm here to own it. So the generator blows up and the client still was like, of course, the client's freaking out. They have all their
and not
stakeholders.
Just you, but the whole hotel probably has no power.
Whole hotel has no power. People are stuck in the elevator. I'm like, it was a thing.
I didn't even think about that.
But the client still asked how we could run the tech check. And I said, I blinked a couple of times very slowly because I was very confused by the question. But, being a problem solver, here we are. We just have to figure it out. I'm like, well, why don't you have all your speakers come to the ballroom anyway in the dark? And I got on stage again with no microphone because there's not just
just shouting at
just
people.
Shouting in this ballroom in the dark on a stage and showing them in the dark as well, like, this is your clicker, this is the green button that you can't see right now, but you will tomorrow.
Like, are you just like using your phone?
I'm just trying to get through this because it was so awkward, and I'm like, I can't believe I'm still having to like run some kind of a tech check without tech to check.
Well, so is there like any kind of lights in the room, like emergency lights, a backup generator?
It was dark.
Nothing,
I mean, granted, like there was some natural light coming in because we were in a room with windows, thank God.
Oh, thank God.
But there was like a window, with a little bit of light coming in, and I'm like,
enough to show them their clicker.
Yeah, and my team, I remember they took photos because they're like, this is so obnoxious of like what is happening right now. But you got to do what you got to do.
Was the client happy that you still ran the tech check?
I sure hope so. They didn't vocalize that, but I would assume that they were. I would hope so.
That's yeah. I can't think of. I could just see everyone with like their cell phone lights, like on the stage, like walking, and
it was like, I'm like, does anyone have questions? And I'm like looking in the audience. I'm like, okay, I think your hand is up. Let's go to you. What question do you have for me? Anyway, just stuff like that, that has happened. We also had just one other story. We were not doing AV for the show, but I was show directing, and I was sitting at the tech booth, and it was setup day, but all of a sudden, the screen on the right-hand side of the stage just comes tumbling down. And it was one of those moments where, like,
Was the show started yet? Or?
No,
oh, okay,
no, thank God.
Thank God.
Everything was in slow motion, but there were like workers, thank God no one was hurt. Like people were still, the labor was still there, like to put everything together. Well, apparently someone from Banquets backstage, like back of house, was like, moving along with their cart or something and hit the foot of the screen.
Oh no.
And the whole scenic and screen came tumbling down and it totally broke. So they had to rig everything from the ceiling last minute. I mean, it was a hot mess. Goodness is right. Yeah.
So what was a floor supported screen then had to get rigged.
Became rigged. Yeah.
Thank God the screen didn't rip. Like imagine if it had fallen on a chair or something.
I know.
And then, oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. And we had obviously the show was starting. I mean, they had a reception that night, so it had to be good to go. But yeah, I mean, things that you never expect to see that you see and you're like, perfect. Great.
I mean, that's why we're the professionals. We roll with it. Chaos coordinators,
Yep.
I secretly live for those moments because if a show goes too well, I'm always like, all right, when's the mic going to drop?
Right.
Like, what's going to happen?
Right.
This is going too well. Something's bound to go wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, everything goes wrong. Like,
It's
it
so
wouldn't be
true.
an event if
I know.
something didn't go wrong.
Yep.
Something. Okay, well, to wrap up, before we roll the credits, one thing left to do. If your career were a Bravo franchise, what would your tagline be? And I wrote a couple for you, so you could pick from it.
Okay.
All right, first one. I don't just roll the tape, I own the narrative. You can try to frame me, just know I directed the shot. They wanted B-roll, but I gave them a bold role. Or the last one, I'm not behind the scenes, I am the scene.
Ooh. Okay, I think I like they can try to frame me, but I directed the shot.
Oh,
I love that one.
All right, you have your new tagline. So when you're
Done.
famous on reality TV, you have your line now.
Done.
Ready to go. Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Event About It. We had a lot of fun today, and be sure that you subscribe and don't forget to leave a review and share a good laugh because this episode definitely had plenty of them. And be sure to head over to eventaboutitpodcast.com, send us your events and stories to be featured on a future episode. And we're going to be able to get into the after show with Sarah, where we're going to talk about event safety, professional career breakups, mentorships, and what shots you really need to capture and which ones just need to go in the trash folder. Well, thank you for tuning in for another episode of Event About It. Keep laughing, keep growing, and definitely keep eventing about it.